obviously Arthur Holm is a family name that is that we took to put onto these brands, and it's very related to the part of me being Danish and growing up with Danish design, growing up in a family that did furniture manufacturing, and the inheritance of the very typical Scandinavian minimalistic way of looking at things in general. We always have of the most basic stuff in our house, maybe 40 different variations we can get, and it's all based on design. They all do the same, but instead of just having a couple, in Denmark, the weather does that people spend a lot of time indoor, and when they're indoor, they spend money on small gadgets and things, and the design part is very important in our heritage. So that is reflecting on the product. And my uncle's name was Arthur Holm, has nothing to do with the company, but it was a name that reflects Scandinavia, and I had a close relationship with him. And
right. So if I were to go back to Australia and pronounce your company name correctly, I would pronounce it Arthur Holm.
That would be spot on. Yeah.
Right, well, I'll do my best to spread the word.
Yeah, I know it's depending on where we are in the world, and often I'm being called Arthur. If it's a longer conversation and if we continue, I would say no, my name is Henrik. But still, it's all good. It's all good.
So what's your essential kind of point of difference? What's your kind of intellectual property? What's the thing that distinguishes you the most?
So I think we should, if you don't mind, we could start about why do we do what we do. There is a reason. Obviously, there's the wow effect that something is moving and something disappears that we have been referred to for many years. But it's actually tools that we are creating for communication. So the closer the AV gets to the end user, the less interference we have. When we talk about interference, it could be acoustic, but it could also be visual. At the same time, we want to meet in a normal meeting environment, and that means that we are sitting and facing each other around a table. It already started at the bonfire, where we were talking about stories, and of course now we are in a different century, and we're not really sitting there having business conversations. They take place around a table, but the body language is important. Where the audio is coming from is important. It's important that we give everybody the same seat in the house. It means that the more traditional way, where we have a room designed around a big wall that cannot be touched, because that's where the display goes or the projector goes. But with our products, you can create and you can design exactly as you want. And that's a natural meeting environment. And we are enhancing communication by giving people their own screens, giving them their own microphone, having the audio coming from where you're looking. So it's a natural way of communicating. And at the same time, we also know that when you don't need the AV anymore, you can disappear. You give flexibility to the room and makes it just a room for any other purpose. So that's the reason why we do it. If you look at where we stick out from the pack, we do that by designing everything ourselves. We understand that the need to have a long lifespan on electronics in an industry where if you go 4 or 5 years down the road, you expect to change it. Our lifetime expectancy is 15 years plus on our products. And we were the first one to come out with 5 years warranty. So we have, since we've been doing this for almost 20 years, we have installation done 17 years ago that still is running, but they are changing them because they are analog and they are they're 4x3, so they want to go 16:9 and of course digital.
Sure.
So that's one of the things that we really like when people come back and say, listen, I've had this for so long, it works, but I need to move on. So
yeah, I guess the question, why I ask you the question about sort of what's your essential IP is that, it's like, take for example the company Dyson. They make hair dryers and vacuum cleaners and hand dryers and whatnot, but essentially they're really, really smart manufacturer of miniature motors, and that's kind of the reason for them being. And you're, you have this kind of intrinsic connection with the AV industry, but essentially you're making sort of very, very well resolved motorized systems. Is that true?
Yeah. So going back to saying this about that we design everything ourselves, and that means that the kind of control we have of the motors that we are using, the movements that we have, we hold more than 33 patents on different kinds of solutions. So it's the combination of that, how we can control the things and we can make them reliable for such a long time. And it's a bit like some places where our product goes in, they hardly use them once a year.
Yeah.
And they still have to perform. We know that if we leave the car standing for half a year, the tire gets flat and other things happen. So think a bit about that when you get into a car you haven't driven for a year, or a car you're driving every day. And that's a bit the same with our products. We have installations that are being used almost 24/7, and we are in both fields. So it is this about designing everything ourselves, going down to the small details that creates that product, that don't make any noise, that is reliable each time, that has that long lifespan, and then you can trust.
Yes.
When we look at who our customers are, they are from smaller companies to the most important, let's say, companies in the world, where you're not allowed to have faults. You're not allowed to have a downtime in your boardroom. And these are the conditions that we're working on. That we also provide our products for yachts. We do have other products for vessels in general. And so we have experience from a much rougher environment than the corporate environment. And all that experience goes together. Our past, or my past, and our engineering team's past in audio as well helps on our speakers and on our amplifier and all of that. So it is a combination of having a DNA from Scandinavia where we try to make things as minimalistic as possible, try to add that kind of quality, but still be flexible, which we're getting from the southern part of Europe. But what it ends up being is that what we promise is what we deliver.
So it feels like more and more of AV equipment is being removed from the table and being put at the front of the room or in the ceiling.
Yeah.
Do you think, what's your kind of view, I guess, on that trend and what it means for what you're doing?
So it is true in the AV industry we are going in that direction. But as on a personal level, everything is getting closer. We don't see that many big speakers in the living room anymore with the stereo in the middle. We see more headphones. There's been sold more headphones than ever. We are seeing that people are doing everything on their phone or on their tablet. And we are getting used to having that kind of proximity where you can also say if there's something you cannot see, you can either make it zoom in, or you can just by moving your head, you can zoom in. So you have those two opportunities. But when things are up on a wall and you're in larger and scaled rooms, you cannot get up and walk to zoom in. You don't have that. You lose it, that kind of control, where when you have your own screen right in front of you. You have to remember that when somebody creates a presentation, they do it on a stationary computer, on a laptop. Now you're replaying it in the same environment. So just by moving your head a few centimeters, you can focus and you can see absolutely everything. And there's also that trend that people do not adapt their presentation to the room they go into. It's very rare they do that. So you bring in a presentation that is done on a display somewhere between 24 and 32 inches, and you bring it up at under 110 inches display or even bigger, and you have people moving in front of you. So it's not one-to-one communication. Information is lost.
But I guess you as a company or as you as an individual aren't going to win that sort of kind of propaganda war, as it were.
Absolutely not.
But you've always existed at the upper end.
Yeah.
And so I wonder do you have any insights as to whether, does the cream, as it were, the very best of the best rooms still is the gold standard having that proximity? Is it, and do they still recognize that?
They definitely still recognize that. What we would like to do is that just below the cream, that's where we are, where you said, no, we're just going to go for a video wall, for example, or something like that. That's where these solutions are still fantastic. And again, as I said, they solve a lot of problems. If we look at the acoustical side, when you have the speakers on the table, with a flat frequency response, you're not polluting the rest of the room. You're not suffering from the acoustics of the room. So again, it's a solution to a problem. You just have to get used to that. Instead of drilling into the ceiling, you'll put it into the table.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. So I guess to wind up, is there anything that's exciting you at the moment that?
So everything. Yeah, what I think is good for everyone is that we are looking at now. I say a word in our industry that it's not that USB-C that people both hate and love.
Yes.
We love it because when we can connect anything to charge on a USB-C, that's fantastic. There are other complication in it. It's a very complicated mechanical cable, but we have been doing retractable motorized cable for some years now and been very successful with our sharing system. And now finally we are up to USB 3, the second generation that we can motorize that as well.
Right.
And of course that's fantastic because we need it everywhere. And again, if we want to charge our laptop, we can do it. If we want to charge our phone, we can do it. If we want to distribute high quality video, we can do it on that. And that's the solution we have available now. And that's what something that makes me very, very excited. We have some new displays as well, but especially the USB-C, because we hear a lot of times that we have them available in our meeting rooms because people don't bring them in, but then they disappear because they take them with them.
Yes.
Not on purpose, of course, but so that is one of the things. And as I said, with the experience we have, it's an extremely reliable system that it's easy to change the cable if needed, despite it has very long lifespans.
Cool. Well, thanks, Henrik, for your time, and look forward to seeing more of your stuff getting specified and installed in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you, Chris.